Welcome, Digital Pathology Trailblazers. Coverage of day 2 of SITC. I mean, SITC is longer, but yesterday we already had a live stream from is that the annual conference? Annual conference of the Society of Immune Therapy in Cancer. And I'm joined today by David Anderson and Don Ariyakumar.
Learn about the newest digital pathology trends in science and industry. Meet the most interesting people in the niche and gain insights relevant to your own projects. Here is where pathology meets computer science. You are listening to the Digital Pathology Podcast with your host, Dr. Alexandra Zhurov.
Yesterday we were at the Hamamatsu booth. Today we are at the Biocare Medical booth, number 717. So if you are here, just come and you can see the live stream even right now if you're here at SITC. But the topic of today is digital readiness for any type of immunofluorescent work. We're going to be discussing this in detail today. But before we do that, quick intro to my guests. For those who did not join us yesterday, David, you go first.
I'm David Anderson. I oversee business development and partnerships for Biocare Medical here at SITC with our wonderful life sciences team representing our Encore Pro X, our spatial biology partnerships, and our new partnership with Hamamatsu.
And Don?
I'm part of Hamamatsu and I lead the strategy, and we are very excited about this partnership and continue our discussion from yesterday.
Amazing. Multiplex is an immunofluorescence scanner.
Multiplex immunofluorescence solutions.
Yeah, and can scan very fast. So, impressions from yesterday before we dive in, from the interactions with people, any specific question? My impression or bigger picture of what's happening in the multiplex IF space was it's a funnel with a huge top where you have the plenty of markers, a lot of researchers trying to figure out what's relevant, and then it narrows down, and where we sit, kind of you guys sit, is middle bottom, because you guys are supporting those who already know which markers, those who already know which direction. Doesn't have to be the final 1, 2, 3 markers. It can still be up to 10, which is what multiplex is imaging, but going down from hundreds to 10 is a long journey. And then when you are already there, this is where the impact can happen. The impact happens everywhere, but this is where you're so close to actually have something that can help patients. And
Sure.
To get there, you need to be digitally ready, from the get-go. Because, why do we need to be digitally ready? Because there is no interpretation of the multiplex IF data without digitization. So, and the workflow is kind of long, right? It starts from tissue accessioning, from fixation, from all the pre-analytical stuff that goes into any pathology process. So you need to start with digital in mind when you're already when you're doing research. Maybe that's let's say exploratory research, maybe that's less of your focus, but when you already know which direction you're going, this is a must, because then we have problems. And we're going to talk about 2 specific steps in this workflow. We're going to talk, David, go, you start because you're earlier in the workflow.
Sure, absolutely. So as you mentioned, our topic is digital readiness, which I think you can look at from many different factors. You look at the patients and the physician's readiness to adopt and use digital, the market's adoption, regulatory, etc., and then simply the workflows, which really what we're focusing on today. Biocare is a pathology provider. We do staining, right? That's our bread and butter. And so one of the ways I look at this is we're speaking about digital pathology, but we're also just speaking about pathology being digitized. We are speaking still about pathology itself, and where we look at digital readiness is to ensure that the quality of staining, the automation, the antibodies, the reagents are all as consistent, as reproducible as possible, so that the output of a stain on a slide that goes into a digital workflow is as consistent and reproducible as possible. That's really how we look at digital readiness. Everything that happens before the scan will impact the outcomes of digitization.
So we had that. We go to the scan. What difference does it make to get samples for scanning that were not produced with digital in mind versus the ones that were prepared with digital readiness in mind?
No, I mean, this is this is an important thing because, oh, hold on to this.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important for us because as we look at it, if it's not standardized in a
Mhm.
manner that it doesn't matter how we digitize it, you're going to have variations in it.
Mhm.
These variations create downstream impact to analyzing the tissues to actually getting useful insights out.
Mhm.
So ensuring that it's stained properly is absolutely critical for us. But to answer your previous question, what was the take on yesterday? It was really, first day of SITC, first day of exhibition halls. It's very busy. I lost a lot of potential customers. Stuff. I was curious about the podcast, so
Absolutely.
it was really one of the best things we have done in a long time.
So I want to give a shout out to Hamamatsu and Biocare specifically in general to the vendors because I join you guys you're my trailblazers on the vendor side, and I always refer to vendors as the unsung heroes of digital pathology. And we mentioned that yesterday. The adoption of digitization in pathology lab is not that great. As much as we
Sure.
love it, as much as we want to like push it, it takes effort to push it. It takes effort to meet those people who are ready to receive what you guys have
Yeah.
to empower them.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was in the Hamamatsu booth the whole day looking at like who's coming, what questions they have, and the participants are here to like they have a lot of competing priorities. They have fantastic talks, and by
Yep.
the way, there is a talk at 12:30 with lunch today. So if you're looking for what it takes to flex I from clinical, specifically in lung cancer, in the Chesapeake room. And how to find the Chesapeake room was a challenge for me yesterday. There's a post on LinkedIn, so just do the hashtag SITC 2025 and find the post where I'm like looking for a room, and this is how to get to that room. So 12:30 talk and lunch. But yeah, so competing priorities for the participants. Coffee, of course,
Indeed.
but posters, talks, exploring like who would be the right partners. And you guys are in this booth, and people are walking by, and you don't want to like harass them, but you want to find the meaningful conversation.
Sure.
So it was an art and an honor to observe you guys. I was like trying to do my best, but obviously you already have people who are here who you had previous conversations
Sure.
with,
Yep.
and I'm like, oh, people coming to the booth. Let me give them a sticker. I hope they like the sticker. But you like know who is ready. You know how to recognize who is ready, and when you do that, you are able to support them. So big shout out to digital pathology trailblazers on the vendor side. And now back to the topic.
Well, you
Thank
make a really good point about vendors versus attendees, researchers, clinicians.
Mhm.
Not to be cliche, but it's a big ecosystem, right? We're all
Yes.
working toward the same mission, ultimately to improve patient care, diagnostic outcomes, drive technology forward, and ultimately that's what Hamamatsu and Biocare are. We are technology providers. We provide tools in the workflow that allow researchers and clinicians to do their work, and I think that really speaks to what we're trying to accomplish with this digital readiness and digital pathology in general, right? We want to push the field forward. We want to improve efficiency, accuracy, and ultimately patient outcomes. And it's step by step, right? It's a journey. And one of the things we spoke about before we started here was the challenges of a non-integrated workflow, right? How there's multiple pieces of the puzzle
Yes.
at the individual, the attendee, the vendor level, but also at the tools level, right? We are a tool provider. Hamamatsu is a tool provider, and we feel that we can strengthen this digital readiness and help move the field forward by integrating our solutions, right? We have one piece of the puzzle. Don and his team have one piece of the puzzle. You have the spatial biology assay providers that are building the panels, and so many other pieces of that puzzle that have to come together really in a perfect manner to enable that final outcome. And it will never be perfect, but that's what everyone here is working to improve, move forward, and like I said, achieve better patient outcomes.
And if we were to picture like the least digital ready versus the most digital ready, how it look like? What's the least digital ready workflow that you have seen in the lab that you know that that's what it is? And it doesn't mean it's like bad or it
Sure.
doesn't add value, but like when we were referring to this funnel, at this stage of the funnel where you already want to pick your markers for a multiplex up to 10, and what's not good, what's good.
Yeah. Well, I'll speak to anything pre-digital, and Don
Yeah,
can take
yeah,
everything
yeah.
afterwards, right? I think in general, and as you said, it's not that it's bad, but anything that is leaning more toward manual, non-automated, non-integrated is going to create challenges. It's going to introduce additional variables that have to be controlled for at the scanning and analysis component, which now there are great tools for QC and deconvolution in the software space, but anything staining and before that is manual or disintegrated from the steps before or after it is going to introduce those variables and lead to less digital readiness. And so I think it's critical that us as providers, as vendors, look to integrate within our own organizations. How do we improve workflows? How do we improve reproducibility and quality control in our sphere of influence? But how do we look upstream and downstream to make sure that we are compatible with the next stage in the workflow? And for us, it's ultimately looking at the antibodies, the reagents, the staining processes, and the protocols that allow for digitization to really add value, right? I think the field will continue to move in that direction, similar to what chromogenic IHC or other workflows have brought, bringing in that operational rigor, ultimately regulatory rigor as we get to that, and standardization is going to be critical for digital empowerment. So again, to answer your question, anything that is leaning the opposite direction, manual, disintegrated, piecemeal, is going to create some challenges that ultimately AI and digitization won't necessarily be able to solve.
Before I pass it to you, Don, I want to introduce this, and you mentioned this. One of your team members, Sarah, she mentioned that we are with multiplex IF. We are where immunohistochemistry was whenever it started. I don't know, 30 years ago. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But basically, when it started, people looked at it like, okay, too complex, too unreliable, too much variability, like those antibodies that you have to like pray that they do what you want them to do. And that was when they were starting. And now this is standard of care. Now this is part of the diagnostic workflow, regulated totally. Like if you don't do this for patients, you're like harming patients.
You said it. It's standard of care now.
Exactly. And now the multiplex immunofluorescence, which is an increased complexity, but is also increased value for patients, is where IHC was when we started. Don, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, if you think about it, like digital pathology and immunohistochemistry, if you look back, it was developed, I believe, in the 70s. So we are still using, there are some new strains, but still you are using the old methodologies to answer the same questions. But the questions have changed because the therapies in the market have changed over the last 30 years. So what kind of new tools can we put into the market that's going to change how a patient is qualified? How do you stratify a patient? How do you identify what's the right treatment for the right patient? I think these are the new questions people are going to start asking or already asking. And what we are trying to do here is provide.
Speaking of asking, if anybody has questions while we are on this live stream and you want to ask direct question to me or my guests, feel free to put them in the chat. I see people are chatting with us. Questions. They are I'm missing a word, but basically like because there's more science, because we understand more, we ask different questions. They cannot be answered with the previous
that's
method,
correct.
right?
That's correct. So there has to be new methodologies coming to the market. And in order for all of this to work, like David mentioned, multiplex immunofluorescence is highly complex. So having standardization, having proper stainers, proper staining protocols, having an imager which actually captures the image as it should, and having downstream image analysis tools all are critical for ultimately to answer these questions for the clinicians, or the diagnosticians, or even for researchers. But if you look at immunofluorescence, multiplex immunofluorescence, it comes with higher plex, but over time it has come, once you get 100 plex, you cannot do 100 plex on every patient. You have to narrow it down to actionable panels.
Right.
So this is where it's extremely critical.
Yeah. And I think going back to the theme here, that's the ideal digitally ready, right? Finding that sweet spot, working towards standardized chromogenic IHC, recognizing that a 4-plex or an 8-plex can actually show us more information about tumor microenvironment, therapeutic response. And so we want that information, we want those data, but going too far beyond that introduces variables that we cannot standardize. So I think it's a dance, right, between more information and standardization to find that answer and be able to create a workflow that is ultimately locked down, can be regulated and used with a degree of confidence that it achieves that maybe gold standard of digital readiness, right?
So we're going to talk about standard, but what I want to reintroduce this concept of a funnel, right?
Sure.
The ideal would be, okay, you narrow it down to one thing, but with the increase in knowledge, with the increase in understanding immune system, we are unfortunately fortunately and unfortunately, fortunately for the patients because we have more insights, unfortunately for those practicing because it's going to increase the complexity of providing care.
Absolutely.
Like IHC did, but we're going to have the bottom of the funnel broader.
Yeah.
And we will have to standardize more and there's going to be more options because with personalized medicine and with personalized therapies, it's basically going to be based on each person, right?
Yeah.
And you can group these people, but it's not going to be one thing fits all. Like it wasn't with IHC mark, so ground truth gold standard thing, right? Don, you mentioned before that we compared the multiplex to immunohistochemistry, right? To the stuff that came before that's similar enough, that is already regulated, but is that the best thing to compare it to? And I have an analogy from AI image analysis development efforts where you compare when deep learning was entering the scene and pathologists were doing annotations, like you compare the detection of the model to what the pathologist annotated. Okay, they know what it is, it's explainable, but do they all annotate the same? Are they like, oh, good? Like, I'm not good. I don't have the same level of in the morning versus in the evening. So within like one interpathologist variability and inter. So that brings us back to the gold standard, what we compare to, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I had to be careful on what I say, but
yeah, no claims, high
no
level.
claims over here, but it was not from me. Actually, I heard that at a talk. I forgot who mentioned. So we are comparing multiplex immunofluorescence to immunohistochemistry as the gold standard. But is that the right way? But if you really look at it, do we want to look at patient outcomes? Is there a better way of standardizing something and saying where patients are having better outcomes? I think that's a better question to ask since we are early in the process of developing these workflows and developing standards and really figuring out what is the right way to do it. But if you really want this to move forward, looking at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns, workflow would play a significant role for this adoption to go from research environment to a clinical or near clinical environment. Because clinical is all about throughput. You have to have the throughput. You don't have the days to image a slide. You don't have days to analyze a slide. It has to be simplified. So we need to look at this entirety of it and look at the workflow as a whole and build modules. This is one of the first steps. Like I think David mentioned yesterday, there's multiple pieces in this puzzle. We have put two pieces together over here, and we are working on the rest of the pieces. But we hope now with both organizations working, we can actually build this puzzle much faster.
Absolutely.
Because it's just not one organization trying to fill all the gaps. We both are trying to fill the gaps. And we have very good synergy between both organizations and the team members. So I'm extremely optimistic that we could get through this. But I cannot give a timeline, but I'm hopeful we can get through it soon.
It's a work in process.
I want to highlight some cool things that we have at the booth. So yesterday we had the stickers come. Let me show you the stickers. So the stickers are with multiplex images, and you can find them at booth 717 and at booth sorry, 415. We have the brain. And yesterday, like the whole team was sticking themselves with the stickers. So,
Where's our glasses?
and Biocare has. Gonna ask somebody from the team to show what they have. So if anybody wears glasses, you guys know how dirty they get. So
You want to wipe them off? There you go. Use that. It's an immunofluorescent. Over and
it's
get
so
one.
beautiful.
717.
I love it. Always goes have to have something like that. So, and I'm so sorry. I like totally made this mistake. I have the wrong earrings, guys. I should have immunofluorescent earrings. I just have the H&E. I didn't prepare for this conference. So
She wasn't digitally ready.
well, I was, but not for multi.
Point.
And that's unfortunately this is like what people do here. Like you go to every booth. So please forgive me. Next year I'm gonna be better prepared. I'm gonna be as prepared as my guests with my apparel.
Doing great. The setup's great. We're ready. We're in it. It's good.
Thank you so much, guys. Any like last minute invitations to before 12:30. Everybody who does not have lunch plans comes at 12:30 to the Chesapeake 7-9. Do we have the exact title? Yeah, it's on the multiplex. Yeah, let me give you the title. From Spatial Biology to Clinical Utility, Advancing Lung Cancer Diagnostics by Dr. Carlo Bifuco. This is a talk that is exactly where you guys sit, where we sit right now, where research meets clinical, and we're still trying to figure it out. And Dr. Bifuco is those who are kind of advanced in figuring this out.
Absolutely.
So I very much recommend to join us in the Chesapeake room. If you don't know how to get there, there is a LinkedIn post. Anything else, Don?
No, definitely the talk is very important. As we talk over here, like what we are trying to address is Dr. Bifuco will be walking you through how to take a research tool and do some studies to demonstrate the utility on how it can help someone like him. This is purely a research use only discussion, but he's going to present some of the retrospective work, what he has done. And also it talks the importance of workflow, because in order for this to become reality, there has to be a simplified work. So if you are here, please attend the talk. And Dr. Bifuco is one of the pioneers in spatial biology and genomics. So it'll be really interesting. It'll be a really good discussion.
I'm looking forward to it. David, anything from your end?
We're excited for day 2. Appreciate a second live stream here from the Biocare booth. Hope everyone enjoys SITC on a Saturday.
Booth 717. Come talk to the team, and we talk to you in the next episode. I talk to you in the next episode. My guests are not joining me for the next live stream, but it was an honor to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much.